already got a big smile on her face. Maybe she's got to come with good points this morning. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning. Are we ready to get rolling? And we'll keep this conversation going. Here comes Wayne. He's on his way back. Good morning. This is Saturday, October 23rd. Thank you so much to Cunans for hosting us and being a great host this morning. I just encourage anyone who comes to sign in. There are masks and hand sanitizer available. I also have some brochures with some helpful information you can help yourself too. Mark your calendars for November's community conversation. It will be Saturday, November 13th at 11 a.m. And for November, it will be online. It will be on Zoom and Facebook. So please mark your calendars and save the link. Upcoming town halls. This week we had women in construction and making sure that our construction sites have more hygienic bathrooms for women and everyone. And Thursday, October 28th, we will be participating in a mental health listening tour to address the barriers, access, and solutions. Also to take a closer look at some bills from Majority Leader Shirkey in the Senate and Representative Whiteford that look at reorganizing funding for community mental health. So please, if you know anyone who's a participant, a family member, or just an advocate, we want to hear their voices. It's been busy in Lansing. You would think we're back to pre-COVID levels. I was able to secure, as part of the state budget, a passion project of mine, 10 grants of up to $10,000 for the installation of universal height adjustable fully automatic changing tables. And this is a game changer for a population with disabilities. It makes sure that they have access and it's more inclusive. We're working to try to find 5 partners in Metro Detroit, 5 partners throughout the rest of the state, so families and individuals have places that they can visit, go on day trips, or even go on vacation to see, and it opens up whole communities by having access to this equipment. So that was a huge win. Governor Whitmer found a loophole in the prevailing wage law to reinstate the prevailing wage, which makes sure that state contract workers are paid at union rates. We know if you're hardworking, you should be getting fair pay. I voted yes on a small business tax pass-through, which means that small businesses can count their local and state taxes against their federal tax credit. And so this brings Michigan on par with other states. It is a tax break to our local small businesses who have been hit hard through COVID, and it takes nothing away from state and local funding. So this is a great opportunity. The Tampon Tax, which has been advocated for many, many terms, we have a tax exemption for medical products in the state of Michigan, and we know that feminine hygiene products are a necessity. And so making sure that those are exempt for credit from tax makes sure that women and girls have access to those and they don't become a barrier to education and employment. ESSER funds, which are school and education fund dollars from federal funds, were allocated a bit ago, and they've just been handed down from Washington, D.C. So our local school districts will see those funds, and they will go to help our kids and make sure they have the resources they need during the delay in instruction through COVID. We know voter suppression bills are huge. They're dropping them a few a week. We know that they're bringing them back from the dead. I call them Frankenstein bills. And then they're taking collections of bills and they're rolling them all up. A 5-page bill within a couple hours became a 25-page bill where they rolled up all the bills that the governor had vetoed that are just a nod to the big lie. the fact that we know our elections are safe and secure, and that as they're being conducted, we are not seeing systemic fraud. And so any obstacles that are being added to the voting process are to make it difficult for voters to have access to their ballots, which is a right and a responsibility in any community. So I will continue to raise up any of these obstacles and vote them down. I was invited to offer testimony against a DNR-sanctioned wolf hunt. Michigan has a population of somewhere between 500 and 700 wolves, and we want to make sure that we're preserving them and making sure that where we saw wolves hunts taking place and exceeding the amount of licenses that were issued and a decimation of wolf populations, we want to make sure that's not happening here in Michigan. We know wolves are apex predators that are essential for managing populations such as deer and making sure that we don't see widespread chronic wasting disease. So as we're getting ready for firearm hunting season, we have to be responsible about managing our populations. As part of the budget, the governor has reissued an organization within MDHHS for older Michiganders. So they've taken key roles in Medicare, Medicaid, and other areas within the department, and they're bringing them together. So they're working together collaboratively to make sure that resources are maximized and that it's easy access, makes it easier for seniors and their families to navigate, get access to benefits. And so this is a great innovation that has been asked for and is much appreciated. Let's talk redistricting. So local voters and voters across the state of Michigan said, let's take another look before the census in 2020 about how districts are allocated. Voters are tired of districts that are being gerrymandered and drawn to benefit certain parties. We want to make sure our voices are heard with fairness. And the concept that we've used is around an independent redistricting commission, a commission that doesn't have ties to politics, politicians, or political parties, and makes sure that they look at the data and are not swayed by partisanship. As we know, the party in charge, regardless of what it is, Republican and Democrat, has a tendency to partisan gerrymander in their favor. So the thought was independent is best. But as we see districts being rolled out with little consideration to the Voters' Right Act, we're discovering that this is more problematic, and also the lack of understanding of how communities are affiliated. So we see communities being carved up in ways that might dilute their voices and representation. We see that that communities are cut up so that they might have multiple representatives, but those multiple representatives might be spread across 3 counties in Metro Detroit, and don't adhere to minority majority districts. And so this process is playing out, and it depends on community involvement. Your voices need to weigh in. There's a comment period, there's public comment in person, there's public comment online where you can tag the map with a pin. But if they don't see complaints or concerns or advocacy for your community, they're going to think that the maps that they've drawn are okay. There are 3 maps for the state house, there are 3 versions for the state senate, and I believe there's between 4 and 6 versions being considered for the 13 congressional districts that have been drawn. Some are better than others, but still they need to be looked at closely through voting rights, protecting rights, and making sure voices and representation continue. So we can get into more of that discussion. FAFSA, for those of families that have graduating seniors, it's long been traditional that families wait until they file their taxes after the New Year's to file for FAFSA assistance. And little did I know that FAFSA opens October 1st, and families are encouraged, especially with need, to apply early. And the biggest amount of funding available is right at the beginning. So get your FAFSAs filed. Spread the word. COVID-19 updates. We're all over the map. So we've got communities that are on the increase. We got communities that are on the decline. The country overall is declining, but Michigan has seen some upswing. We've had over 10% positivity of the 51,000 tests that have been tested recently, which indicates widespread community transmission. Macomb County is responsible for 25% of the school outbreaks in the state, which makes me question the public health decisions. We know that there are counties that have had mask mandates, like Oakland County had 0 community outbreaks in their schools, school outbreaks. Wayne County had 3, and they also have a mask mandate. So the question is, what isn't working for us here in Macomb and what needs to be changed? I encourage you to reach out to our public health department and ask for decision-making that is data-driven. Also, hospital capacity is over 80%. That's extremely high, and may lead to other issues, other medical emergencies not being treated adequately or timely. So we need to be conscientious. Vaccination, prevention, masking, testing, tracing, and know your status. Let's see. Today, the Warren Centerline Prevention Coalition, along with the National DEA Drug Take Back, until 2 p.m., will be collecting medications from medicine cabinets. So go get to the Warren Police Department, get to the Centerline Public Safety, and get those out of the houses. Warren Concerts Band will be getting its 50th season tomorrow, Sunday at 3 p.m. at Warren Woods Tower High School. Let's come out and support them or enjoy some lovely music. November 1st, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., the Macomb County Foster Closet is hosting a grand reopening. They have, in the last year, expanded services and access for local families that host foster children. A lot of needs are available to be met, and Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist, who is a big advocate and ally, is coming out to help us celebrate here in Macomb County. So make sure you spread the word. Make sure people know we need foster families, and we need them to know that there are community supports available. November 6th is the Macomb Intermediate School District's Macomb Reads Festival from 9 a.m. to noon. They make they adapt their programming to meet the COVID statistics. And next weekend is Halloween, so have a safe Halloween. And with that, I'm going to open the floor. What do you guys want to talk about? Yes. Not from the latest I've heard.
My understanding is right now it's at the county level, and the reason, one of the reasons is that after refuses to issue an order enforcement from county, hence the disparity between Wayne and Oakland County.
Yeah.
That we're at the increase. And we just had the very embarrassing situation this week with one of our city council members getting arrested again
Third time.
for failure to wear a mask into TCF. They're very proud of it. And even here in Warren, we have a mask mandate for the city buildings. And if you go into the community center, you are required to wear a mask. However, once you get inside, you can take it off and they don't care. I went to Downtown Development Authority meeting on Wednesday of this week, and the mayor and the members of the Downtown Authority blatantly walked into the meeting, held the meeting with no mask, even though there's a mask mandate within City Hall. So it comes down to enforcement, and if Apple refuses to enforce it, I'm
Right.
not sure, and the mayor house refuses to enforce it. I'm not sure where we go, other than leave the county.
Start by making noise. Complaining. Let citizen comments at city council and let them know that they're accountable for their decisions.
Well, the mayor issued the decision, wear the mask, and yes, he doesn't comply. It's very sad. Is there anything at this point, has the governor given up on trying to issue statewide, or is it back to the counties, and only half of them decide whether to issue it and/or enforce it in this county?
So it would be an MDHS order, and it would require county sheriffs to enforce. So that was part of the problem with the initial. In the counties where sheriffs said, even though it is a state issued, we will not comply with law or legal orders. And so it created this feedback loop, right? This dilemma that we can issue orders, but they're not being followed. If you do that, how strong is your government? And so by kicking it back to the local counties, in some ways it helps, in some ways it hurts. So I know for sure Van Dyke has a district-wide mandate. I believe Fitzgerald, I know Warren Consolidated have district-wide mandates. I believe Centerline is a elementary mandate because they're the population that can't be vaccinated. And I'd have to check on where Tower is. I went and spoke at the Warren Consolidated School Board meeting a couple weeks ago to say thank you, and they need our support. We face losing strong people who are making good decisions on behalf of students, informed decisions, because parents are bullying, threatening, and dominating these meetings. Warren Consolidated made adjustments to how they're holding their meetings in order to address that issue and make sure everyone who makes comments are being heard. Literally, if you had something to say that wasn't with the anti-mask, they would scream right over you. And someone threatened me with pepper spray after I got up and spoke. So it's unsettling to go to a school board meeting and need police presence. And so we need those decision makers who are being strong leaders, one, not to be run out. We need them to hear that we support them, and that just because this group is noisy and loud does not mean that they speak for the majority of residents and students.
Are there going to be any vaccination clinics specifically from Macomb County to address the issues that we're having in our schools? Because isn't the vaccine being extended to children?
Yes, it appears to be imminent that at least children 5 to 12 will be covered in this next round of vaccinations. I don't know what the date that goes into effect, but federal health has told states to start putting their orders in, so as soon as it goes through, that they can start administering it. I can't speak to Macomb County Health. I can reach out and find out what plans they have, but they are encouraging, and communities across the country are looking to school districts, community centers, houses of worship, people within the community that are trusted, to make that distribution as easy and accessible to families and children as possible.
Mayor Fowler says, every time I discuss this with him, he says he can't find organizations to come in and get shots. Is that something we can organize?
Well, that seems, I'm not sure where he finds that, because, we have a lot of community organizations, we have hospital systems who have set up vaccination clinics all through this, and I think there's a lot of asks. I think every school district in 28th House District has a school-based health clinic that has an affiliation with a community hospital system, whether it is Henry Ford or Ascension, that they've been able, Henry Ford was able to provide Van Dyke Public Schools a vaccination clinic for the teachers and the educational staff to make it as easy and accessible to make sure that they were protected. So I believe that there are community partners out there, and it's only a matter of connecting the ask with the partners.
I experienced on my booster shot the other day that Mount Calvary Church, where it went down, I think you probably know that.
Is it Roseville? East Point? East Point, yes.
Okay, and they had very little traffic, so they were very well set up. They had 3 RNs there, other support staff. There was no traffic coming in and out.
Well, they're not announced.
That's right, and I give you the whole
Nobody's announcing these
That's my
things.
point.
I don't see announcements, and I don't see Macomb County Health Department announcing. I don't see any of the mayors announcing. I haven't seen you announcing any vaccine clinics.
There is a site that Michigan runs, the health department, that lists where these shots are going to be. That's just how I found them.
Yeah.
This may be something we want to track back and put up on your Facebook.
Yeah. I know that City of Warren continues to have Thursday testing, drive-up testing, but I can't speak to any distribution sites other than like My Care, going directly through a hospital system like Ascension, that are in our district.
Question for you, for me, was these new House bills, 5436 to 5443. It's limit the use of cash bail required release by vehicle charges.
Yes. I'm a proud co-sponsor of this. Yeah, so these bills, the task force on criminal justice reform identified that people being held pending charges have created catastrophic financial issues for families. And so people who have not even been found guilty are being held on cash bond that they can't afford. They can't scrape together dollars enough to get out. Well, if you're being held and you can't get to work, then you don't have the money to pay for rent and utilities. And then we have families, including children, who are homeless. And so they looked at statistics and data and found that people may be held that are not, are found not guilty of charges, and yet their lives are being catastrophically ruined. And that poverty is not an indicator of people not showing up for court dates. So that this is not a good use of holding people accountable, that people can be provided bench warrants, released and back, continue to work, pay bills, take care of their families, still show up to be accountable for choices and charges that they may face. But continue to advocate. It is a bipartisan bill package, which makes me hopeful that it will get a hearing and it will be voted through. And it answers what the governor's task force has asked them to do. So I would expect that they would be signed into law once they're passed. But again, a lot of times once people are elected, the community becomes satisfied that, okay, they're going to do what I sent them to. And I'm trying to remember which president said, you elected me, now hold me accountable. It's very true with federal, right? So we have some big infrastructure that go pro, voting rights, the infrastructure budget, and then the Build Back Better budget. We have federal senators who are elected on a platform and then aren't following through on it. It is important that voters in their district, their state, and across this country let those decision makers know they're making decisions that affect us. Dollars that can come back to our community, improve infrastructure that is much needed, roads, bridges, sewage, water pipes. And we elected them, we elected me, hold me accountable, hold us accountable.
Like I said, 2 weeks ago, Warren City Council talked about 2 bills that are currently before the House concerning the number of marijuana plants that are being allowed. Here in your district, we have an issue. There's one street over here less than a mile away where people are coming in, renting houses. No one lives in the house. They're just turning the houses into row houses. They're using huge amounts of electricity, huge amounts of water, and all you do, you see people coming in to tender plants, you see people coming in to harvest the plant. There's no one living, and the city is failing to do inspections. There are 2 bills in front of the House. My understanding is right now, Warren City Council voted 100% unanimously to support reducing the right now a grower can grow 72 plants in their house, and they're wanting to reduce that to 12 plus a possibility of an additional 12, so that it's no longer economic. If you can put 72 plants in a house or one of these little workhouses, you can make money.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you familiar with those bills?
I'm familiar with them, and there's a lot of controversy around them. One is when we voted in access to medical and recreational marijuana, it was promised that people who partake in medical marijuana would have access to marijuana without having to go through corporate distribution, right? So they hold the cost. They would be able to access free medicinal marijuana through caregivers. And that's each person that they provide for would have 12. You could grow and maintain those yourself, or you can pick a caregiver to take care of those for you. I'm going to give the disclaimer, this is the best I understand the law. I don't know the intricacies. My understanding is that is a caregiver taking care of it within their house, right? If you create a building just for growing plants, to me that seems industrial or corporate. One of the big dilemmas is we expect our industrial marijuana growing facilities to maintain filtration. There's strict standards on what is transmitted beyond the walls of the facility. The problem is if that's a house, they can't regulate it to the same. So the biggest dilemma is so we've promised medical users to have access to marijuana, not through corporate means, and yet now we want to take that away. So, a lack of consideration was given to what does this mean? Because we do get smell far beyond the halls of a house when a person's using, within their backyard. But then your neighbors are also partaking because of smell at the very least. It's tough. It's tough to say that that should not have access, or that we're stripping people of access and putting it back in corporate if you want to use it, you have to buy it. So it's something that I haven't reached a decision yet on. And I'm really listening to people who are weighing in. Come on in, sign in. We're in the community discussion part. So, I don't know, just in time. I'd like to hear, I'd like to hear more. The city council hasn't reached out with a letter. If they're, taking a position and asking for support, that would be helpful.
They voted, they made the vote, they're writing the letter.
Okay, has not been transmitted yet.
Yeah. Well, the question is, all right, given the situation we have here in your district, where people are renting houses, not living in the houses and turning them into grow houses, who's responsible for the inspection of those houses? Unfortunately, one of your constituents has been complaining continuously.
Yeah.
And with no response, saying this is state law and they can do what they want to. Who is responsible for, is there any, does a person growing medical marijuana, which I have no problem with, have to register the fact that they're doing it? And is there any inspection procedures? If a person wants to grow medical marijuana, even at the 72 plants, and 72 plants is a lot of marijuana plants right now. Do they have to tell anyone they're doing it? Do they have to bring in do they have to notify the county, the city, whatever? As an adjunct to that, I'm very concerned with the power outages because in this area specifically here, this is my area, we are getting one power outage after another. And it's my personal opinion only, is that's because we have all these grow houses pulling off the electrical grid, and I don't think our grids were ever expected to support these grow houses and even commercial grow facilities. If you go to 14 Mile Orion and roll down the windows, you can get a contact high sitting in the stoplight when they are harvesting, because there's so much marijuana in the air.
Well, my question is that coming from a industrial, a residential? I've toured a couple industrial, and the difference of air quality from inside to outside, it's 100%. So my question is, where is it coming from? And then also, who regulates? However, my understanding is, as the law was written, there was no thought given to, if it's in the air, it's in the air. Which becomes problematic for neighbors who should be able to go outside and not have to smell marijuana.
Well, it becomes problematic when they're pulling on the grid. They're pulling the water, they're pulling the electricity, they're pulling, and you've got, we have a neighborhood here with multiple grow houses in it, with no one who lives in the house. They come in, they run the houses, and they turn them into grow houses.
Gotcha. I have a list of questions that I'm going to have to dig into to get more answers, because what is being regulated by the state, what is being regulated by the city, what registration is available, and then are these power outages actually from, drawn electrical grid or outdated infrastructure? I've had conversations with DT about the frequency of outages that aren't affiliated with storms or other incidents. And I've been taking screenshots of the district of power outages, widespread power outages, not just like small one-offs. They're not as frequent as was originally. Like, I get it. If it's happening, every several months or a couple times a year, sometimes it feels like it's constant. But we do not have a strong correlation between frequency of outages that aren't attributed to some kind of naturally occurring. So, I encourage people continue to report to me so I can be a eyes-on advocate, but also report to DTE if you've noted a pattern of outages. So some of it is outdated infrastructure, and there is push to get things improved. And there's consideration on with global climate change and implications for stronger storms and more damaging storms more frequently, do we set kind of regulations or requirements that more of our infrastructure is below ground? So looking at what are the challenges of being able to identify an outage without having to dig everything up versus not having as many, storm-related outages.
My power has gone out 4 times in the last month. And I have a BiPAP, so I need the power to breathe. So when my BiPAP goes off at 3 o'clock in the morning, the power down. And some people DTE needs to start answering questions.
Yeah, please loop me in on this.
Welcome to the Hello.
Yes. Hi, how's it going? Yes. You guys can catch anything you missed, the updates from the district online, but are there any issues that you would like to raise or questions that you have?
No, but she told me one of my concerns is the power outage. I've been working on that for yesterday.
Are you seeing a lot of power outages?
Not a lot, but lately it's been happening a lot. So
What area of the city are you
I
in?
live in more 12 mile and Ryan area.
You say 10 mile?
12 mile and
12
Ryan.
mile.
I'm at 14 in Ryan, so I think.
Yeah, I think we are very close.
But and it's only out for like a half hour.
Yeah, that's what happened like a couple of days ago, at middle of the night, around like 2 or 3 o'clock.
That's exactly.
Yeah, I think
Exactly, it's coming out, and it only goes out for a half hour, but it'll wake me up immediately.
Yep.
Because I can't breathe.
Yeah.
You don't have access to an automatic backup system?
No.
for battery?
Yeah, generators are quite pricey.
Well, yeah, but sometimes medical necessity will help pay for a backup battery and
Battery power.
inverter so that you can get by an hour or so.
Well, historically, it's not as much.
Okay.
Another question is, I'm not sure it's related to you or to your city. Unemployment, South Asian, Asian American unemployment reform, we're looking for all the reform, a whole bunch of money. I know many people ask me these questions, that why you guys
Yes.
have a conversation with your legislative representative, taking and find a solution to minimize the questions they ask. These questions complicated and tricky questions. They cannot answer sometimes. They cannot even understand what exactly they mean to. This is a simple question. They make it private question.
Yeah.
So if you can talk about this, see what you can do.
Yeah,
in the
so-
future to minimize those things.
In the short term, one, we could do a town hall with the Bengali community.
Yes.
And we know there's some local organizations that offer translation services
Yes.
to speak to specific asks, walk people through it so if they're using it.
Correct.
Two, if they have utilized unemployment and they're getting the recall letter from the state of Michigan asking them to send the money back, it's very important that they know they do not have to send the $10,000, $20,000, $40,000 back. So make sure that they have that information. They do have to do the steps of recertifying their claim and saying that they are in fact eligible and it was not a fraudulent claim, because if they just let it go, the state's gonna think, oh, that was fraudulent. But once they recertify their claim, they're still eligible for those benefits. People do need to know that as of September 4th, that the federal additional benefits and the extended benefits in Michigan ended. So that they need to start looking for work, and there are resources in the community to assist in finding Michigan Works and other programs to help with that. I did sign on to some legislation that says if there is a population, and I know Lori's been an advocate, especially on ballots and access to election materials, but over and above, if there are significant populations, that government records, files, paperwork is offered in those languages. But we can work with some translation services to get materials translated.
We can have a town hall meeting with you.
Yes.
In the future, the South Asian community, Asian community, they have this type of question.
Yes.
Facing challenges.
Yes.
So we can invite you.
Please reach out. I'd be happy to. Yeah.
On that note, please, I'm gonna add on to you. In Hamtramck, if you go in to vote, the state requires ballots and information in Bangladesh because of the huge population in Hamtramck. However, that population has now moved here to Macomb County. The question is, can we get the
Bengali.
translation ballots and you guys can speak much better than this. But right now,
Because we know it's Warren in Detroit and Sterling Heights, so they've expanded, the footprints.
can we ask the Secretary of State, do you need a specific number in your population? I mean, does it have to be like 5% of the population needs the translation service per zip code? What is it that pushes us over so that we can, my dear friend here tells me all the time because he has issues with people who need assistance in translating their ballots and translating their election information. We need to get that translation services following the community because the community has moved.
So they need to know, first of all, that they can bring their own translator to the polls and they have the right to have someone translate written materials for them. So if they go, no, you can't go to the booth with them, they absolutely do have the right to have someone translate. We've looked into it, and it has not been easy to get a clear answer on how we get this. But if Hamtramck has set the bar, it's not like they're reinventing it. This has already been translated for someone. So why aren't we sharing it?
Absolutely. Well, at minimum, we should have translation services available at the Warren City Clerk. That when the Warren City Clerk has someone on call, that if someone goes to the Warren City Clerk to vote absentee, that they should be able to call for translation services. So no, you can't go to the local polling place, but if you need the translation services, you can go to the city clerk to get those.
Did you guys want some root beer or something to drink? On me. The root beer's homemade.
The root beer is fabulous. It's homemade.
Okay.
Another thing I want to add on her thing, especially Secretary of State, like for driving license for the test forms, if it is possible, or like extended community, like you say, it's one and we have a huge number of the Bengali language, form. Along with that English from the questioning form, a lot of the times it minimizes the barrier to having a translator reading the question, like driving test questions.
Yeah.
If
I can
you
reach out to
have-
the Secretary
you know
of
what I'm
State.
saying?
Yeah.
If you have the Bengali, words in there, translating the sentence, it will be easier for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It will be helpful. It will minimize the translator services too, because they can read both English. Whoever cannot read English, they can read the Bengali part, and it's easier for them to participate.
It's true. And back to the polling locations, Michigan, Warren in particular has brought on a lot of new and young people to staff our elections, and a lot of them are bilingual, and they can help provide those. But again, it's not reliable that the place you vote is going to have someone who's staffing it who speaks your language. So,
and
yeah.
same with, like, if we have the opportunity to apply for Secretary of State and other institutes, government institutes, if we can have some Bangladeshi people there, that raises us that same thing, like translation barrier. If someone from there, from our own community who speaks Bengali works there,
Yeah.
that is a big help. So if we
And I think we should do some kind of community organizing around encouraging Bengalis to volunteer. So it's not volunteer because it's a paid position, but to get involved and participate in it. Because, you know, it's a couple days that, of employment, but it's also a bigger service to the community.
Yeah, perfect. Civic and
Exactly.
Yeah, we can do that. And one more, I'm sorry, I've been like rushing out with every problem. But since I
That's
have
what
you
I'm here for.
Since I have you here, and we are
That's what I'm here for.
I got the opportunity. Another thing, I know Khazashab Ahmadiyya, he, from our community, I would say he's the only one involved in a lot of the things, and we are using him to express our things if we want to say something. So he's got a school board, so he's
Yes.
doing it. So
And it's nice to have someone within your community
Very nice.
to have access to
Very
government.
nice.
And
That's
Kaja
good.
does an outstanding job.
Yeah.
We need to encourage more voices to join, learn what he's learned, and to get involved and continue this.
Especially in schools, elementary schools. Like I have 3 kids. They're going to elementary schools. So when I first came here to Varan, there was like probably 15 students. Now there's like I would say like Sears Elementary School. 10.
Searsville,
Yeah. There's like I would say at least 40% kids from our community.
Oh, yeah.
South Asian. So holiday wise, we have like as a Christmas we have Eid. That's one concern. If we could make Eid as a holiday, since a lot of people call in sick and use the other excuses when they have holiday.
Yeah.
If there's a lot of people, if we can make that a holiday. And
Yeah, so
bigger
Fitzgerald has been a ground breaker in doing that. Yeah.
We not have Khazashab Ahmed everywhere.
Yeah.
We have you. So, and another thing is lunch issue, kids. Religiously, we are Muslim, and there's I would say 90% of the community are Muslim, and the kids are going there. So, kosher, halal food is a big issue. A lot of the kids goes to school, they don't eat anything at all because they practice halal meal. They're on halal diet. So, a lot of the school does not have that.
I would double check with Warren Khan schools. They've been very
Please.
progressive
Please.
in providing, making sure that the dietary accommodations are met.
And halal food, just so a lot of people don't know, halal food, if they follow proper procedure, halal food is the healthiest food because one thing about the halal food is the meat. If you kill the animal, it has to be healthy. So there is a lot of good side about halal food that there's always.
Well, and it's just about making religious accommodation.
Yes.
You know, like we don't need any other justification other than
Yes.
our kids need to eat.
Yes.
And
There,
that this
thank
is
you very
accommodation, and it's a very small, because we have a halal providers in the
Yeah.
community,
Yeah.
right?
Like as I mentioned to my principal, that the pizza, they can order the pepperoni pizza and the cheese pizza,
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
pizza.
Yep.
So, our kids who doesn't like it, they have the cheese pizza,
Yep.
pepperoni pizza. They all need to eat, so they are always separated,
Yep.
so which is good.
It's true. Being a Catholic school, not Catholic school, a Catholic kid growing up during Lent, we all had cheese pizza during Lent. So we're not, but a big thing, and I do hear this within decision makers, within education, in communities where there are large populations that come in. My Bengali community, my Hmong community have been good at reaching out and having those parental relationships with teachers. But they don't always have the same relationships with school boards or principals. And so we need to help educate them as to it, because we can't expect people to know what they don't know, but we do, but once they're educated on it, they need to make informed decisions. So I'd be glad to help forge some of those relationships. Let me know.
Hmong community has because of we just finished one in Cape.
Oh yeah, did Mai have one? Yeah. 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 That's right. She had one with, I think, Annie Levin, and she asked me to join them, but I already had this scheduled. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's a beautiful thing. Like, when people say, we can't coexist, we can't live together, I say, look at my community. My classroom was a mini United Nations. It was beautiful. It was amazing. And I learned as much from my students as they learned from me.
Right, yeah, right.
Yes, sir. I'm doing well. Welcome. Yes. Yes.
Been a political activist for 37 years.
Yes.
I've been, Melanie McGee, I was a campaign manager. I know Kaiser. I'm glad to see this, but there's not enough people here.
Thank
We
you.
need individuals to sit in the community to be messengers,
Right.
okay? And we all got to learn each other's culture.
Yep.
Just like you want me to learn yours, you gotta
Yeah.
learn mine, you
Yeah.
gotta learn hers, and
Yeah.
everybody else.
That's why we call them United Nations.
This is
Absolutely.
how we come together,
Yes.
okay?
Yep.
Kaiser knows where I'm coming from, both these people do. And we're powerful. In order for you to change things in Warren, we're gonna have to come together with Wayne County, the people in Detroit, just like Martin Luther King did.
Yeah.
It just didn't come from one place. It came from all over, white, black, Jews, everybody. And look at the change. Now we have an individual named Stacey Abrams. And I was a little touched that people didn't catch her down here at the Opera House.
Oh, she had a packed crowd.
Yes, she was here. The thing I had told Joe,
Lori.
Melody, Jackie, we need to get a Stacey Abrams out here to speak, to bring this together. The time is now. Individuals died for this time. It took individuals to die for this to come into effect. Okay? So we got to, this is all nice. Because I'm in Detroit, I'm trying to get districts together. I told them I want 10 people out of each district to do a round table.
Yeah.
And we can come and find out what it is you can do here, what neighborhoods you live in, what's going on, what's this, that, and other.
Yeah, I work with 482 Forward,
Yes.
and they are incredible community grassroots organizers focused on education, but they do a lot. But again, we spend a lot of time expecting others to do for us.
Yes.
When we, like I just said before, you elect people, then you have to hold them accountable.
Yes.
And that includes weighing in and putting pressure on public officials to get things done.
We got to do this, y'all. It's going to take all of us to make the village. Not a black village, not a white village, not an Indian village, all of us. This is a melting pot.
Yes,
I served my country for that flag and that constitution. So we'd all have rights here. I'm a Scotch bishop. This man is too. That's right. I'm not going to have any other kind of way. It's either the right way, it ain't going to get on.
And we've seen communities that organize, and they're very effective of getting their messages out.
Yes.
And a minority has been able to dominate, and people who have counteracting messages
Yes.
are subject to a noisy
Yes.
group.
And you know, Lori, me being out here campaigning for Melanie, I saw every bit of racism you could find. You did?
We still have, a racist heritage.
Shocked. The thing is, it's time to make a change. Okay? And that's why I came out here. People got me from Detroit. Pulled me from Detroit to come out here to campaign for Melanie because they know I am about racism. Okay? I had it used towards me. When I was 16 years old, my dad signed for my driver's license. Because my mother didn't drive. He said, if something happened to me, I need somebody to drive a vehicle. I'd come out here to ride out here to work because I had white friends. I'd get pulled over immediately. And they used the N-word on me. Take your such and such back across 8 Mile Road. I said, let me tell you something. My daddy told me, I can go anywhere in this world I want to. It's America. I'll be back in 2 hours. And you didn't think I didn't come back in 2 hours? You're going to pull me over and over and over and over. You ain't found nothing, but you boom. I took numbers off of badges and everything.
And I'll tell you, I was an adult before I had ever heard the term sundown town,
See?
and it was eye-opening to understand.
Yes. You got to do this, y'all. That's why I'm out here today. I am going to get with a lot of other individuals that's supposed to be in this Macomb County Black Caucus. I don't see them here. They get ready to hear from me.
And we need to do a lot of community outreach. So we know that there are a lot of communities within our communities that don't turn out to vote. that don't turn out to participate. Exactly. And so we need to be knocking on doors, having conversations, having, it can be a park, it can be in your backyard.
Yes.
And just start by saying, you have a voice, you have a vote, you have an involvement, get involved.
Me seeing staunch individuals like Lori Alex, my goodness, y'all got a good person here. She's a warrior.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a warrior can feel a warrior, and I'm a warrior, and I feel her warrior. I feel yours too. I feel his too. We got to bring this together. That's right. We got to do this.
Mm-hmm.
We must do this. I'm telling you now. I'm looking at the redistricting thing that's going on here.
Yes.
There's no way that we can wipe out state representatives and bring the laws by doing this. We got to fight.
Absolutely.
We got to fight.
And we were just saying that if they look at the maps and there are no comments on them, they will say, oh,
Oh, yeah.
they must not have any problem with this one. We'll go with this one. People need to log in. It takes 5 minutes to drop in a comment. It takes an email address, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you something.
Yeah, couple minutes, to be honest.
It's true.
I'll step to this point. We are dealing with demonic forces on this earth. Don't nobody know what I'm saying? You need to look it up. They want to bring this demonic forces want to bring this world down. Want to bring America down. Okay, but we can't let that. Our life got to shine. We have lost too many individuals over the years that's to serve this country that fought for our freedom. Okay, just like we don't know in Afghanistan. We must push. And if you need somebody to push with you, here I am. You know that. That's right. We got to do it, y'all. We must. We must. Yes.
Lori, another question is, just an example, redistricting. It's not finalized yet.
Correct.
It's going to be finalized probably next year, beginning of next year.
Yeah, we're expecting by New Year's.
New Year, right? Do you think it's going to be effective next year, end of the year, or the following year?
That's the million-dollar question. So I expected that there will be legal challenges. There's speculation that these districts that we have currently may continue for another election cycle until if the courts need to work it out. We'll know better. So November 4th is the end of this public comment period. They will have an opportunity to tweak lines, adjust lines, get feedback. And then there's a 45-day public comment period. However, they don't, because after every time they change a line, that clock starts again. And so January 1st is considered like one of the latest that can be done and have this put into place and have election materials printed. So your guess is as good as mine. Yeah.
And please understand that what's going on right now with the state only applies to U.S. Congress, state, and Senate. The city of Warren is also going to redistrict. Right now, the city of Warren, they're terribly our city council districts. Right now, city of Warren is terribly gerrymandered. There is no it's drawn such as there's one district that non-white people can win. Other than that, non-white people cannot win any of the 4 other districts, which means they'll never have a voice on council. Right now, I have been trying to talk to city council and to the city, and our districts in the city are going to be withdrawn. I need your community and your community to watch what's going on, because you have a right to a voice. Those districts inside the city council need to be drawn so that your community is
When is it
represented.
going to happen?
They refuse to answer that question. The city
The
council,
last reference I heard was next June.
right, which is the city, but the city charter says it should be happening now. But the city charter, there is an argument between the mayor and the city council as to how and when it will be done. And we need voices to stand up and demand that it be done transparently, legally, and fairly. And right now, we don't have, people are not voicing that opinion. I feel like city council member representing the 5th district has just been arrested for the 3rd time. We need, this is not good. He is not representing your community. And we need people to represent your community.
Whenever it happens, just let us know we're there. It's a pretty important issue.
The thing, a lot of it is people have to be involved on a consistent basis. What happens is that we need everybody that city council needs speaking up. The more people that hear from, the more that they know what's going on and what they do. What happens is it needs to be consistent. Like, you have a bunch of people show up on one meeting, but then not for the next 6, it's forgotten.
And
Yeah, that's what
often if you wait until often if you wait until it's a critical point, that decision has already been made. And it's all the weeks in between. So to find, encourage everybody to show up for as many city council meetings, school board meetings, local talking, community conversations, as possible and consistently. So that when you have a building of voices, right? You don't just all show up for one and then they know, and because it's about public pressure, right? So if they know, as soon as we take this vote, nobody's coming back next week. What's the skin off my knee? You're gonna yell at me for 1 week, and I'm gonna come back and this place is gonna be empty. Right? Have you had the same thing at school board meetings that the audience is pretty empty?
Yeah, very empty. It's like kind of shame, The biggest community, the citizens never participate. So we always encourage them. Okay, that's your school board, your children. Just come on in. You have opportunity to talk, participate. Then we know you, you know us. But
And you can make better informed decisions if parents have weighed in. If they wait for you to make a decision and then they come back and yell at you because they didn't like your decision, it's very problematic because you're like, nobody told me you disagreed or you had a preference or want something better.
right.
And then later you brought some questions, say this, that, but you didn't participate.
Tell us before and we can get you answers to the
Exactly.
questions. Yeah.
Those are the
Biggest
challenges.
problem nowadays everywhere.
We need to bring them.
Yes.
I listened to a minister last night at 2 o'clock in the morning, and the minister stated, the only way this world or America is going to come together, we must learn how to love one another.
Yep.
Okay? And that's the number one thing. Love.
Love one another.
When I met Kaiser, me and Kaiser became like this.
Right.
And it's like we've been knowing each other for 20 years.
Yes.
Okay? That's the love I got for him. Same thing with Joe. Same thing with Lori. Same thing with you.
I was waiting for that.
Yes.
Yeah, thank
Johnson,
you. Thank you.
Johnson, you got terminated.
That's right.
You got terminated.
We haven't met yet.
Yeah, we got to do this, y'all.
And we need more opportunities
Yes.
for our community to come together. I think often people impose in their mind divisions between communities.
Yes.
They fear a mosque or a temple or because they've never been in it or because they're suspicious about what's happening.
Yes.
We need to open doors and
Yes.
create opportunities to visit, meet our neighbors, understand
Yes.
we're more alike than different,
Yes.
and tear down some of those
Yes.
fears.
I got one more thing to say.
Yeah.
Please let me say this. I talked to Melanie McGee about 4 days ago. I was asleep. The Lord woke me up and said, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go talk to the Macomb County Black Caucus in Warren. Benton Harbor is hurting right now from some lead rust. I told Melanie this would be a good strategy for the Macomb County Black Caucus. You all get some people to donate water and we'll drive it up to Benton Harbor. You got to get noticed. You got to be known. Right now, no one knows anything about the Macomb County Black Caucus.
Right.
You hear me?
But we need to.
We got to do this.
Yeah.
That's a way of showing strength. Okay, to go up there, that's a majority black community.
Yeah.
But we need to go up there and show them the love we have
Yes.
for Benton Harbor. What do you all think about that?
Yeah, like
I've been an outspoken advocate. I signed on to the letter advising against management takeover of Benton Harbor schools.
Yes.
Because I saw the writing on the
Yes.
walls.
Yes.
I reached out to the governor's office as soon as it was on my radar as to what was happening.
Yes.
And wanting answers on what Eagle and MDHS was going
Yes.
to do to turn it around.
Yes.
So absolutely. And we also need to work on empowering them as a
Yes.
community.
Yes.
So we know if
That's
a
right.
community has
That's right.
been,
And I told you, volume shows strength. Love and volume shows strength. When it's like this, ain't nobody gonna tear it down.
but we also need to keep our eyes on, it's not just Flint and it's not just Benton Harbor.
We
We're
just found
seeing
out.
Michigan has it has higher than average blood levels of lead
Yes.
in many communities around the state.
Yes, and it
And
just-
we know that it's been a failure of infrastructure
Yes.
investment
Yes.
for decades.
Decades. It just came out about Hamtramck.
Yep.
Right,
Yeah, Hamtramck.
just happened in Hamtramck.
That's right. Same thing.
And
But
so
we got to go to Hamtramck and do the same thing.
we
It's
need
gonna
to
take power,
know,
y'all.
we need to have the funding, we need to invest.
Yes.
But we also need to empower residents.
Yes.
Empower them with knowledge,
Yes.
empower them with the system.
Yes.
Make sure that, they can organize
Yes.
and advocate.
Yes.
What is the status right now for Warren community, the lead status? Do you have any idea?
So I take a peek every year. Every year they release it as part of a bigger.
Okay.
We've had very good.
Good
Warren
status.
has really-
Because I know that there is a state level is 15%, and then alarming sound is coming. So
I
we are
know
in
there's
good
some
status.
discussion about a lot of the like Warren's done a lot of updates of our underground infrastructure for the city. The bigger problem can be between house
That's
and
right.
where it connects.
Where it
So
connects, that's right.
anything that's on your
That's right,
property,
Need to update.
technically,
Yes.
you have to pay for, which can be very expensive. And there are more and more movements because we know that these aren't in isolation.
Yes.
So we can take
that-
the water to the city for testing, just to be
Yes,
cautious.
yes, you could
Okay.
reach out.
It's a free,
Yeah. I would reach out to like an MSU extension type program. I mean, they even do testing of ground soil before you start gardening in the spring.
Right.
There's a company over here in Troy that builds water filtration systems. I have one in my house. It cost me $3,000 to put it in there. I have a 3-stage. And if you looked at the very first stage, which I change every 4 to 5 months, you'd say, I'm drinking that? And you wouldn't drink water, tap water again without being filtered.
Well, I caution because actually, we get water from the Great Lakes Authority, and it is some of the cleanest
Cleanest.
water in the world.
They're not clean.
We're connected, and you know what? People have individual
It's not about the
preferences
water,
on it,
actually.
and we do have communities where groundwater has been infiltrated by PFAS, dioxane, but those are often homes on wells. For Metro Detroit, it's expensive and we pay for it, but being that we're connected to the largest surface freshwater in the world, we have some of the best drinking water from the tap in the world. We have to pay attention to the infrastructure. So it's not the
Infrastructure, right.
water
The
source,
pipelines.
it's how it gets to your house.
Yes.
And we know what to look for, and we know that communities preventively test. Warren has an electronic infrastructure that flushes lines that have accumulated water, and that's one place where there can be accumulation regularly, and so they're very proactive.
Can I make a proposal? And I'm gonna get in trouble here, I know.
Go ahead.
There is a problem with Hamtramck right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been talking to Kaja and other people in your community. You guys are playing cricket here in Warren.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody in Warren has ever seen a cricket
Chicken.
game.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have.
I
an
advocated-
idea.
Yep.
I would strongly, I understand you're having your open house tomorrow, but wouldn't it be wonderful to have an open house for a cricket game and you guys actually teach us what we're watching?
Oh, yeah.
So-
At the same time, make an announcement, make it a community event,
Yes.
invite Lori,
Yes.
invite
Yes,
Paul Moino,
Yes.
and Mayor Fouts,
Yes.
and ask them to come and teach us cricket, show us cricket,
Take
at the
it.
same time, collect water for Hamtramck.
Yes.
Ask everyone who comes to
Bring a
bring cases of water for Hamtramck, and then you as a community
Right.
deliver this water down to Hamtramck. So you're creating a community
Smart
event.
idea.
I need your phone
You're
number.
teaching us.
See, if you want,
She has full of ideas.
And at the same time, ask people to bring water. You can send some to Benton Harbor too, but right now, Hamtramck, and I bet you have community centers down there who could use cases of water. But I'm encouraging you to reach out to the rest of your community
Yes.
and make this happen.
and this is a way that we're not isolating.
Yes.
We're
Yeah.
crossing over, educating.
Yes.
I learned about cricket in Australia. I got to see Australia versus Pakistan, which I think were two of the top rated
Right.
cricket.
Yeah.
It was education. And I've long advocated with our Parks and Rec. Our Parks and Rec are not the 50s, right? Like, we used to have a baseball field in every park practically. But if you go, the communities that are playing volleyball, cricket, and other sports, we need to make sure that those spaces are created in their local parks.
We have a cricket park here in Warren.
We have a cricket park, or we have a park that people play cricket in.
We have a park that with a cricket field.
Yes. Yep.
So
Which
let's,
one?
Actually,
Two of them.
Yeah. I was like, I see a lot of people over by the mosque,
One is in a
On
Trombley
Ryan.
Park, you know
Trombley
the
Park,
Warren
right.
Trombley Park?
Trombley. Okay.
So our cricketers, they practice and they do the game over there.
Okay.
So,
I see people at Austin Dennis
yes,
playing too.
yeah, like whatever the park is available, we are going to be reserved the park for
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah.
You know, so we are talking to the Warren, Park and Recreation Department, Dino. So Dino is helping us. We talk to Mayor, like anything available, like we can rent it out and our young cricketer can, practice.
Practice next year.
Yes.
So this is what we are planning,
Yes.
but make these community events.
Yes,
Invite my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Invite Joel's
Yeah, we-
neighborhood,
we-
invite
yeah,
everyone's
yeah.
neighborhood for us to come, but let us give at the same time.
Yes.
The thing is.
You can practice
The thing-
cricket.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure. I'll show you how.
The plus that you have going on here is America loves sports.
Yes, of
And
course.
cricket is an up and coming sport. That's what it is.
Cricket is a
So-
international
International.
phenomenon.
Yes. Right.
But we
But
haven't been exposed.
But now it's time.
Yeah.
One of
And time is
the
now.
famous South Asians.
That's right. The time is now.
There was
I think
just,
I was
now, right?
I went to the Hindu
Yes.
temple for Durga Puja
Yeah.
last week, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
And there was a cricketer from New Jersey.
Yes.
And he comes and he teaches
Yeah.
clinics on cricket.
Yes.
So I was like, got to meet him.
Yeah.
I need to meet.
Fantastic. I know,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Well, also, like to know, you would never know that it was a Hindu temple right there off of 9 Mile. And just to go and learn and to find my students. I found a student who I had as a 4th grader, and he's now a senior in high school. And so just to understand a little bit better cultures across our community.
Well, right, and the
Yeah.
kids will come. Your children
Yeah,
will come to a
yeah.
cricket game. They may not come to a
I'm
mosque.
pretty sure one
But
day
yes.
United States is representing the world famous team in international ground. Even though right now there is no representation from cricket ground, I'm talking about. So in the future it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Trust me, America is gonna have an international cricket team.
So the bottom
Yeah,
line
pretty
is,
soon.
he
With-
said,
with
Hold on, we
most
got
of
3
the-
conversations happening. I can't follow. Who's starting?
No.
No, no.
Okay, no.
Well,
So the cricket, I'm pretty sure we are talking about it, and America is going to have a cricket team international
In the future.
in the future pretty soon. And there's a lot of brown people there, like Canada. Canada has a cricket team, but
They have a team, right?
yeah, they have a team, but 10 of them are from Pakistan, Bangladesh,
Yeah.
India. So yeah,
It's largely
coming.
Pacific, like
Yeah.
around the
But
Pacific.
it's gonna come. It's gonna spread throughout the community, and people are gonna learn. It's similar to baseball,
Yes.
almost similar to baseball. Almost similar to baseball. It's just when you hit home run, right? In America, baseball players still run, but when we hit home run, we don't run. It's a declared 6 run.
6. Boundary.
Oh, they don't go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth?
When you home run, why do you run? I have an American friend, really close. We worked together for 7 years, so we always used to joke around about games from
Yeah.
our part of the world in America. And I always used to bug him about one thing, like I always used to show him the world map and tell him, this is called world. America and Canada is not a world. You know how they call World Series?
All I remember is you hit a wicket, off a wicket, with a wicket.
Oh yeah. Well, there you go.
Now
She's
you're
there.
there. For a moment.
Yeah. Yes.
So now my question is out of the game right now. I noticed this is my old state, so I came back from New York 2016. I noticed I compared with New York city parks. So I noticed many of the city parks during the summertime, after 7 or 8 o'clock, they shut down the lights. I understand this is against going green. You know, I don't want to say that, but I feel like we should.
Necessarily.
Not
Because
necessarily.
you could put solar powered
Yeah.
Yes.
lights.
Yes.
So,
Because I like to see, Lori, the lights up until midnight. So what's gonna happen? A lot of people like me, people coming from work 6, 7 o'clock, getting off, taking a little shower, or maybe taking coffee or tea, going to the ground,
Yeah.
running around. They
Yes.
wanna see the lights up there.
Yeah.
There is no lights.
So,
asked
two things.
I asked my people down here local when I came down here in 2000, how come there's no light in the city park? Where I compared with New York City, is all night up.
Yeah.
People are running
yeah.
day
Yeah.
and night.
Yeah.
Beautiful. If you don't have the city lights, it's down. I understand it's saving the energy, but that's not a good idea.
sometimes it's a good message, and we've had this conversation about access to the bathrooms at parks as well, and we pay for those. And so, how long? So number one, you can invest in lights fueled by solar. So it doesn't have to be just energy. You can also get downlighting, which means like if people are afraid that it's too bright because these lights are on all hours of the day, you can get it so they just point downward, which lights the area without lighting the surrounding and the skyline. So those are two reasons that should be a non-issue, right? Like we should be able to have it. And it's a deterrence from problems to have lighted areas. So our school playgrounds that get vandalized at night or used for less than civic reasons, it's often because there is not light on them. Well, you have to know who to ask, right? You need to organize or write a petition. That would be to the Parks and Rec Department. Dino Turcato is the director. But it also, at the same time, needs to talk to the mayor and talk to the city council, right? So city council's taking care of budget and mayor has to approve it. So it's a matter of investment. But again, if only one person shows up at a city council, only one person sends a letter or email, then they go, that's one vote. I don't care. You have to get a community organized. If it's something you care about, you can create things for people to send an email. Here, when you go to the community center, you need to make a statement. This is how you do it. People are afraid to go to government. They don't know how it works. They're afraid they don't want to look foolish. So it takes a lot of civic engagement training to help prepare them. This is what you're going to do. This is what you're going to see. This is what you're going to say. And then more people that you can get turned out, then you can change minds.
So,
Or
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Or you need to know who to ask. Kaja knows who to ask.
But it can't be just Kaja, right?
No, but he knows who to ask. But no, you
you
need
mean
to know
invite
people
people
like me on who can answer
Yes.
the question. All right. The budget for the city of Warren is going to be written in the next 3 months. It will be submitted in February. So if you want any changes
Then
to
do it
park and
now.
recreation, that has to be written up, agreed to, and presented to City Council,
City
Mr.
Council.
Turcato, and City Council
Right.
in the next 3 months. So I just gave you a deadline.
Thank you.
So what do you want in your city, we have 30 city parks in the city of Warren. What do you want to propose? And you can propose like a short-term plan, a long-term plan. Say short-term, I want this cricket field, I want that cricket field, I want these bathrooms open, I want these lights. But you've got 3 months to come up with a list, have your community agree, and then do a united presentation to both the mayor and city council.
And I would even back up further and start with Parks Commission. Don't we have a Parks Commission?
They don't meet. And they're only advisory. They have no
Correct.
authority whatsoever.
Correct,
So you
but they
need
can
to
be
do
good
it.
allies.
So you need to have Mr. Takata,
Yeah.
the mayor, but you've got 3 months, so come up with your list.
And encourage someone to get involved with the Parks Commission. We have positions that need to be filled, and so here's an opportunity to get involved with government through an appointment that can help lead into open more doors.
Excellent idea.
So-
Ask Mayor Fouts.
Yes.
You need someone from the Bangladeshi committee
I'll
on
talk
the
about
Parks
this.
Commission.
On every commission.
On the Parks Commission. Do
Parks
you have
Commission.
one right now?
No.
Let's get it going. You could
We
be
can
on
talk
it.
about this.
My nephew,
I'm happy to
if
say.
I have the opportunity.
I want to say something right now.
Yes.
And there was a point that she was getting ready to make about 20 minutes ago. And she slipped and said, our children are the next up and coming individuals that are going to run this country. We must bring our kids together. Black, white, Bangladesh.
Tied up.
That's right. And learn each other's culture and learn to love one another.
Yes, yes.
I'm gonna go there again. It was a valid point she made, but we must do this. It's our kids. Okay? And right now, what's being portrayed in this world and on this earth is how racist everybody is against each other. When my parents brought me up, I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood, living north of 7 Mile, Sherwood Forest. Okay? I grew up with Jews. I was able to learn their culture. I was able to see the numbers burnt into their arms from the concentration camps in Germany. So the Holocaust did take place. I saw it for myself.
We've lost a lot of history.
Yes. We must make a change. You need to know my history, and I want to know yours. Okay? I love history. I'm a staunch individual. That was one of my main subjects when I was in high school. But we got to learn one another, man. We got to teach our kids hate is not tolerated in this house. Okay?
Absolutely.
Because what was going on back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, every time white folks sat down at the dinner table, what was being discussed? Racism.
Hold on, not all.
Not all, but you know what I'm saying.
I know where you're coming from.
You know
And
exactly
I
what I'm
also
saying.
know that people in power stay in power by
Yes.
dividing people and
That's
pitting
right.
them against each
That's
other.
right. Now, a main thing that brought me to that is when they first had the gathering at Miller Park. Wasn't that Miller Park where we was at? Where I sold my Black Lives Matter shirts.
Oh, no. It was over at 11 and Hoover Tech. Are you talking about the march?
No, I'm talking about the park to me. That was
Yeah,
Miller
one
Park.
at Miller, but the one earlier.
Well, the first one I was at Miller. And that's where Congressman Levinson showed up at. And a lot of older white folks walked up to me and said, "Can I hug you and apologize? My parents taught me this at the dinner table. It was said to me." Okay? My parents taught me at the dinner table to love everybody.
Yes. Correct.
Do you hear me?
I hear you.
Yep.
We got to do this.
It's true.
And while I'm alive, there's no telling when we're gonna be alive.
Yeah.
I've been to 7 funerals, one of them my dad this year. Another individual that I grew up with was in my dad's funeral. 2 weeks later, 61 years old, he collapsed in front of his 90-year-old mama. She died instantly from a heart attack. I just lost my cousin. We buried him Wednesday from COVID. He wouldn't take the shot. He caught the Delta variant. Took him out in 5 days. I'm telling you, we got.
Life is like this.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Life is like this, so we got to do this now.
So fast.
We can't wait on it. It's got to happen.
You know what? We're going to leave that on a high note.
Yes.
Probably one of our longer, more involved ones.
Right.
but I got other things that I have to take care of today, but you know where to find me.
Yes.
And let some of these discussions
Yeah.
lead to next steps.
Yes.
Lori, again, tell us how we can get a hold of you, your office and
Yes.
so forth, and invite everybody back for next
Yeah,
month.
yeah. Oh, hold on, where'd my dates go? Come back online, thank you. November community conversation will be Saturday, November 13th, 11 a.m. on Zoom with a link to Facebook. Come back. Town hall on mental health will be Thursday, October 28th at 6 p.m. That's also online, but you can always reach me at LORISTONE@house.mi.gov.
Should be online.
Yes. Yep, you can
Also,
email me, call me, and reach out.
Can you have email communication with these events?
Yes. So you can go online to my website and you will get a monthly e-news. We don't spam you, we just give you monthly, but we also give you a heads up when these events are happening. Yes, so you can mark your calendar and please help spread the word in the community.
Yes.
Yes.
We want to thank all of our listeners for joining again.
Thank you.